Oh, come in, come in. Oh, hi, come in, have a look at things. I just was pouring myself a wee dram. But you come, it's a good day for you to have arrived because it's 25th of March, which of course is it's normally the Feast of the Annunciation, but it's Holy Week, so it doesn't quite tally in. But it's a significant day for those of us that love Tolkien. It is, would you believe it, International Tolkien Reading Day. Not that I need an excuse to read Tolkien, but it's nice to think that people all over the world are making a point of reading him today. It's a thing started by the Tolkien Society. But of course, they didn't pick the day at random. It's the day when the ring meets the fire. A plot spoiler there. The day in which, the age of Sauron is, Sauron is destroyed and that dark age comes to an end. And there's a great sense of liberation and new beginnings. And of course, Tolkien chose that day because that's how he felt about the Annunciation. That just as in a sense, Frodo and the others have to learn to let go and not seek power, and a redemption comes through that letting go. So, in a sense, the Annunciation is about God, humbling himself and becoming tiny and helpless with us in the womb of Mary. But anyway, that was the reason why Tolkien chose it. So, a good day to read. Now, I told you the other day that I'd had to buy a modern paperback edition of The Hobbit because I couldn't find my old hardback one. But I have. Come and have a look at the shelves here. This last place I expected it. This is kind of a mixture. I mean, obviously the double shelving makes it difficult. It's mainly poetry. There's a bit of Chinese philosophy there. And then there's lots of Coleridge and Tennyson and people like that. But lo and behold, here, amidst the Peterson pipe boxes and bits and pieces, look, there's Hallam Tennyson's memoir of his father, Alfred Lord Tennyson. And there is Hilaire Belloc's brilliant book, The Cruise of the Nona. And somehow, I know not why, in between them is The Hobbit. And it's a lovely edition from 1966. So I would have been 8 or 9 when this particular one was published. It's got the lovely illustration, Tolkien's own image of the Shire. I do have a seat. And all that. I really like this in books where they give you the whole thing, first published 1937, second impression 1937. It seems to have got a bit stuck there. And then suddenly, from the middle of the war onwards, you see all these endless, third edition, 15th impression, 16th impression, 1966. And of course, what is that? It's nearly 60 years ago. And of course, in those intervening 60 years, been so many more editions and impressions. Anyway, so let's read a little of The Hobbit on Tolkien Reading Day. And I thought we'd go to that bit in the a little way into the first chapter, The Unexpected Party, where you get this interesting move from the sort of almost slapstick comedy of the dwarves all arriving one after another and then Bombor falling on top of them, and then they're all ordering everything they like and poor Bilbo running about frying eggs for them and things, and then they do the dishes and they pretend they're going to break them all. They sing this great song, chip the glasses and crack the plates, blunt the knives and bend the forks. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. Smash the bottles and burn the corks. And I remember my dad singing that song to us when he read it, and then my sister and I had the book, and we learnt it because it was our duty as children after supper to wash and dry up, and we used to take it turns who washed and who dried up, and whichever I did, my sister would always think I hadn't done it as well as I should. But we also had fun singing this song about making our parents think we were going to chip the glasses and crack the plates. Anyway, so it's all broad comedy, and then you get this wonderful thing about coming back into the firelit room, lighting the pipes, the smoke rings magically moving around, and then through the medium of music, he suddenly takes you from the comic to the beautiful and numinous, to the realm of fairy, to something you know, that fills you with a deep yearning and a kind of fires your inner courage. It's a wonderful transition, and you can actually feel it in the prose itself. So let's say they've just finished singing That's What Bilbo Baggins Hates, and then the last line is carefully, carefully with the plates. And of course, so this is where Tolkien takes up the narrative from the poem. And of course they did none of these dreadful things, and everything was cleaned up and put away safe and quick as lightning, while the Hobbit was turning round and round in the middle of the kitchen, trying to see what they were doing. Then they went back and found Thorin with his feet on the fender, smoking a pipe. Well, I think we can manage that. He was blowing the most enormous smoke rings. He was blowing the most enormous smoke rings, and wherever he told one of them to go, it went. Up the chimney, or behind the clock or mantelpiece, or under the table, or round and round the ceiling. But wherever it went, it was not quick enough to escape Gandalf. Pop! He sent a smaller smoke ring from his short clay pipe through each one of Thorin's. Then Gandalf's smoke would go green and come back or hover round the wizard's head. He had a cloud of them about him already, and in the dim light it made him look strange and sorcerous. Bilbo stood still and watched. He loved smoke rings. He loved smoke rings, and he blushed to think of how proud he'd been yesterday morning of the smoke rings he had sent away up over the hill. Now for some music, said Thorin. Bring out the instruments. Keely and Feely rushed for their bags and brought back little fiddles. Dori, Nori and Ori brought out flutes from somewhere inside their coat. Bombor produced a drum from the hall. Befor and Beaufort went out too and came back with clarinets they had left among the walking sticks. Dwalin and Balin said, Excuse me, I left mine in the porch. Just bring mine in with you, said Thorin. They came back with vials as big as themselves, and with Thorin's harp wrapped in green cloth. It was a beautiful golden harp, and when Thorin struck it, the music began all at once, so sudden and sweet that Bilbo forgot everything else and was swept away into the dark lands under strange moons, far over the water and very far from his hobbit hole under the hill. I said the magic starts. Of course, the music is a kind of magic, as all music and all poetry is. The dark came into the room from the little window that opened in the side of the hill. The firelight flickered. It was April, and still they played on, whilst the shadow of Gandalf's beard wagged against the wall. The dark filled the room and the fire died down. The shadows were lost, and still they played on. And suddenly, first one, and then another began to sing as they played. Deep-throated singing of the dwarves in the deep places of their ancient homes. And this is like a fragment of their song, if it can be like their song without their music. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons dim and caverns old, we must away ere break of day, to seek the pale enchanted gold. The dwarves of yore made mighty spells, while hammers fell like ringing bells in places deep, where dark things sleep, in hollow halls beneath the fells. For ancient king and elvish lord, there many a gleaming golden hoard they shaped and wrought, and light they caught to hide in gems on hilt of sword. On silver necklaces they strung the flowering stars. On crowns they hung the dragon fire. In twisted wire they meshed the light of moon and sun. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day to claim our long-forgotten gold. Goblets they carved there for themselves, and harps of gold where no man delves. There lay they long, and many a song was sung unheard by men or elves. The pines were roaring in the height, the winds were moaning in the night, the fire was red, its flaming spread, and trees, like torches, blazed with light. The bells were ringing in the dale, and men looked up with faces pale. The dragon's ire, more fierce than fire, laid low their towers and houses frail. The mountain smoked beneath the moon, the dwarves, they heard the tramp of doom. They fled their hall to dying fall, beneath his feet, beneath the moon, far over the misty mountains grim, to dungeons cold and caverns dim. We must away ere break of day, to win our harps and gold from him. Goodness, I find I can recollect most of that poem just from my childhood love of it. So Tolkien goes on, as they sang, the Hobbit felt the love of beautiful things made by hands and by cunning and by magic moving through him, a fierce and a jealous love, the desire of the hearts of the dwarves. Then something Tookish woke up inside him, and he wished to go and see the great mountains, and hear the pine trees and the waterfalls, and explore the caves, and wear a sword instead of a walking stick. He looked out of the window. The stars were out in a dark sky above the trees. He thought of the jewels of the dwarves shining in dark caverns. Suddenly, in the wood beyond the water, a flame leapt up, probably somebody lighting a wood fire, and he thought of plundering dragons settling on his quiet hill and kindling it all to flames. He shuddered, and very quickly he was plain Mr. Baggins of Bag End under hill again. It's just wonderful the way the music and the song and the poetry brings out this Tookish side, as it were, of Bilbo, and then it dies down again. And in a sense, the whole book oscillates between those two things, the beautiful, mysterious, fire-kindling poetry of epic and the ordinary chap who finds himself caught up in all of it. So anyway, there's a little bit of talking for International Tolkien Reading Day, and even the odd smoke ring. So cheers, thanks for dropping round.